Hello, welcome to my video of every film I've ever seen in my life, the 1920s to the 1930s. If you missed my first two videos of this series, it'll be in the description down below or in the link up above. If you're new here, I appreciate you being here, and leave a comment down below if you thought this series is interesting or whatever you think it is. And I appreciate if you are a returning subscriber. I appreciate you, and comment down below as well, and share the video. Like the video. You are one of the new ones here. I appreciate you being here as well. Please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's get into the video. And starting off in 1920, we have the Cabinet of Dr. Calaguera. Directed by Robert Wayne and starring Conrad Veidt. A lot of earlier stars that a lot of you probably haven't heard of. It's about a young man recalls in his memory the horrible experiences he and his fiancée Jane recently went through. It's excellent, beautiful silent film. I highly recommend it. And then we have a 1920s version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And then we have Buster Keaton's 1 Week. I highly recommend any Buster Keaton short film. Then we have D.W. Griffith's Way Down East. Obviously, I'm sure some of you have heard of D.W. Griffith, and he's an excellent film director, and this is one of his silent films. Then we have another Buster Keaton called Convic 13. Hilarious comedy of Buster Keaton's character being in jail and going through a bunch of hilarious misunderstandings. And then we have Buster Keaton's The Scarecrow. Another hilarious comedy. And then we have the original Last of the Mohicans from 1920, starring Wallace Beery and Alan Rusko. Obviously, if you've seen any of the newer versions of The Last of the Mohicans, you know the story. But this one I actually highly recommend. It's it's just as good as the one from the 90s. It's really good. I really recommend it. And then we have Buster Keaton's Neighbors, another excellent comedy. And then we have an excellent film by Victor Shostrom, The Phantom Carriage. Excellent foreign film from 1921. It's a beautiful silent film about 3 drunkards who evoke a legend. The legend tells that the last person to die in a year, if he is a great sinner, will have to drive during the whole year the Phantom Chariot that picks up the souls of the dead. It's if you're into horror, this is it for you. It's an excellent silent film. It's beautiful. And then we have Charlie Chaplin's The Kid. I can't really say much because, you know, it's Charlie Chaplin. You know, it's already been said where it's about a tramp that cares for a boy after he's abandoned as a newborn by his mother. It's excellent, sweet film. Then we have Buster Keaton's The Haunted House, Hard Luck, The High Sign, and then we have Charlie Chaplin's The Idyll Class. And then we have another Buster Keaton up next called The Playhouse. And then we have Buster Keaton's The Boat. This one I really highly recommend. It's well done. It's one of the first movies that you see doing the twist around with the camera, kind of like what you saw in Inception with the hallway scene, but instead this is the boat, and it's one of the very first films to do that. It's really cool. And then you have Buster Keaton's The Paleface. And then one of the greatest horror films, in my opinion, of all time, you have F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu, starring Max Schreck. Vampire Count Orlok is interested in a new resident and in his real estate agent's young wife. And, oh my word, this movie is beautiful in the sense, and the music is just on point. And the guy who plays Nosferatu, the makeup and everything is just so good. And then up next we have Buster Keaton's My Wife's Relations. We have a very interesting film from the early days of Antarctica called Nanook of the North. Then we have Douglas Fairbanks' Robin Hood, silent film with Robin Hood. It's really good. I'm a huge fan of Robin Hood and the stories, and this is another one where it's excellent even as a silent film. And then we have Buster Keaton's The Pilgrim. And then we have probably one of the most iconic films of all time called Safety Last with Harold Lloyd. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the famous image of the man hanging from a clock high in the air of a building. When a store clerk organizes a contest to climb the outside of a tall building, circumstances force him to make the perilous climb himself. It's highly recommended. It's so good. And then we have a silent film from 1923 called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's another excellent silent film, another classic story. Highly recommend. Then we have Harold Lloyd's Why Worry, another excellent comedy. We have Buster Keaton's Our Hospitality, another silent comedy. Basically, if it's Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin or Harold Lloyd even, you're going to get some excellent content from them. It's fantastic. And then we have the original Ten Commandments, also directed by the same director of the Charlton Heston Ten Commandments, Cecil B. DeMille. This one is actually a little bit different. It goes a bit differently, with the first half being the story of Moses, and then it goes directly into modern times, and it becomes the story of Moses but in modern times. It's very interesting. I highly recommend this Ten Commandments. And then we have one of Buster Keaton's, also probably one of his greatest films, Sherlock Jr. It's fantastic, basically Sherlock, but Sherlock Jr. And it's Buster Keaton again. So then we have The Navigator, again with Buster Keaton. And then we have a very, very beautiful early version of Peter Pan. This movie is just so good. I mean, it's the story of Peter Pan, but it's a silent version of it from 1924. It is a very early film, and it is really good, and I highly recommend it. You can buy it off of Amazon and whatever, and oh man, it's like if you're not into silent films, I mean, but hey, you're watching this, maybe you are. I don't know, but this is one of those where you really gotta see it to believe. It's amazing. And then we have the original The Lost World. I know it's been remade a few times, and this is early stop motion, and it's a silent film, and it's really good. We have The Joyless Street, interesting little film from 1925. I recommend it as a first-time watch and a one-time watch, but that's basically it. Then we have another great familiar story called The Phantom of the Opera from 1925. It's all these original stories, it's, hey, you go in and see it, and hey, you get what you get, and it's silent. Hey, it's really cool watching these originals all the way from back in the day. And then we have the next film up with Charlie Chaplin, one of his most famous films, The Gold Rush. This is the one where you see him with doing this with the shoes and whatever. It's really, really neat with the dance, and the whole film, beautiful. Then we have Harold Lloyd's The Freshman. This is one that I did not have him on my radar at all, and I was pleasantly surprised by this. And it was the first film that I saw by Harold Lloyd. Then I saw Safety Last after this one. But The Freshman, man, this one is just amazing. It's about a freshman in college, and he's trying to get onto the football team, and It's fantastic. And then we have The Big Parade, another gorgeous film by King Vidor and starring John Gilbert. The story of an idle rich boy who joins the U.S. Army's Rainbow Division and is sent to France to fight in World War I. It is a heart-wrenching story. It is just heart-wrenching, and the acting in it is simply incredible. I will tell you that. It is simply incredible. And then we have the famous Battleship Potemkin, a foreign film. There is one scene on the steps of a very just traumatizing scene of people getting shot, and this scene is parodied in the excellent The Untouchables film in the 90s. It's very, very good. I highly recommend it. Then we have The Black Pirate, a very early version of pirate films. And then we have a very early version of animation in puppetry called The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. And then we have one of my personal favorites. I don't know. No, it's not loved by many, but it's a personal favorite of mine called Sparrows with Mary Pickford. It's such a lovely little story, and I get a kick out of it every time I watch it. It's great. And then we have The General, starring Buster Keaton, and this is probably my favorite of Buster Keaton. It's in my top 100. During America's Civil War, Union spy steel engineer Johnny Gray's beloved locomotive, the General. And basically the rest of the movie is him chasing after and trying to get it back. And the comedy and the stunt work from Buster Keaton is simply amazing. It is fantastic. And then we have the film Metropolis. Very long, 3-hour epic. The sets and the actors and everything from the special effects, you get everything from this film as a great experience, and I highly recommend it. And then we have Harold Lloyd's The Kid Brother, and then we have Hitchcock's one of his earliest films, a silent film called The Lodger, a story of the London fog. And then another personal favorite of mine called Napoleon from 1927. It's 332 minutes. That's about, I think, 5 or 6 hours, and it is simply incredible. Oh my word! Like, this film is rare to find on Blu-ray and DVD, and I actually found it on Amazon for quite a lot of money. But this movie, oh my word! If you can find it and watch it, please do. I highly recommend it. And then we have up next is Wings, the very first Best Picture Oscar-winning film from 1927. And you got Clara Bow and Charles Rogers, and it's about two young men, one rich, one middle class, both in love with the same woman. Oh my word, I highly recommend it. It is amazing. Then we have, up next is The Unknown. And then Buster Keaton's College. We have Sunrise. And then we also have the very first sound film called The Jazz Singer. Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. I'm sure you guys have heard of that famous line, because obviously it became iconic in film with being the first sound film. And I actually own this, and if you want to see my DVD collection video, go there. You'll see all the video movies I have of this era. It's such a beautiful film. Then we have Charlie Chaplin's The Circus. You got Buster Keaton's Steamboat Bill Jr. And then we have Harold Lloyd's Speedy. And then probably one of the most heart-wrenching films I have ever seen, the 1928 film The Passion of Joan of Arc. Marie Falconetti stars as Joan of Arc, and her acting with her eyes is simply incredible. You feel her with her acting in this. It's probably one of the first roles that could have gotten nominated for Best Actress, but sadly not. It was in the early days of the Oscars and it becoming to light and all that kind of stuff. And this movie is just amazing. Please, if you are interested, watch it. You gotta see it. It is amazing. And then up next we have The Cameraman with Buster Keaton. This is a beautiful little love story and one of my favorite romantic stories. I'm a sucker for romantic stories, and this is really good. It's also one of his films where he has stunts and all that kind of stuff, and oof, man oh man. And then we have The Docks of New York, no personal favorite of mine, from 1928. And then we have The Fall of the House of Usher. Two of them. There's two that came out. And then we have Man with a Movie Camera. This is one of the very first documentaries. And it's a great little film of a man, just shooting every day, and you can see like personal lives and all that kind of stuff from the 1920s and 1910s and all that kind of stuff. It's very interesting to watch. And then we have another early Alfred Hitchcock film called The Manax. And then this film is actually rare to find, and it was hard for me to find too, and I finally found it from a friend in a group on Facebook, and it's called Pandora's Box. It's a good little film, and if you have trouble finding it, maybe contact me and I'll get you a link to where you can find it. And then we have Spiked Marriage with Buster Keaton again. We have Yung Chain Andula. And then the final film of the 1920s to the 1930s is from 1929, The Coconuts, with the Marx brothers, Harpo Marx, Chico Marx, all those guys. And I'm not a big fan of their movies, but they are funny, and The Coconuts definitely worth watching. And that was my video of every film I have ever seen from the 1920s to the 1930s. I appreciate you being here. I would appreciate you if you go and check out my earlier videos of the series of the 1910s to the 1920s and the 1880s to the 1900s. And if you've already seen it, I appreciate that. And stay tuned for the next few videos in the series. And if you're new here, click subscribe, like the button, and share if you thought this was worth sharing. And if you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate you being here. Stay around.